Hey, it's me, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and welcome back to another episode. And on this episode, I am going to be discussing the films I've been watching in my movie room for the month of March 2026. So let's get to it. So the first movie I want to get to is a more recent movie. I watched this last night actually, and it is One Battle After Another, the latest Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Big fan of his work over the years, and this was a really decent watch. I will say though, it wasn't the best Leonardo DiCaprio performance. I enjoyed his character, but I do feel like it was more like an ensemble cast, an ensemble movie where he weren't really like the main guy throughout the story. You had Sean Penn's character, you had his daughter, the other female lead, Benicio del Toro was in this as well. Few different characters in there, so he wasn't the main guy, but I still enjoyed this movie. So basically, he plays this guy who can create bombs and stuff, and he works for this. I think the correct term would be a revolutionary group. What I've looked online, where they're against immigration, these immigration camps. They're against banks hoarding money. They're just basically against the a lot of different sort of regimes and stuff, basically, and they want to, freedom fighters. They want to make a difference, but they do it by, attacking camps, attacking banks, and they're then known as criminals, and the army are after them, the feds are after them, basically, in America. And he's like the bomb expert within this group. And then he grows. I won't want to spoil the movie, but he then forms a relationship with the female lead, who's like the leader of this group. They have a child, and then the story kind of like skips forward about 15 years, where the group have all kind of disbanded. They're on the run, and the group are then being hunted down. And then you've got Sean Penn's character, who's this like really sad. I think his name's Lockjaw, and he's this really weird character, very just like a really eccentric, weird general who has a really very odd story. And what I like about this movie, there's a lot of different story threads. I feel like you've got this story thread of him wanting to join this sort of group called the Christmas Adventurers Club, that from what I gather, are very much like a racist. They're like a KKK group, kind of like that, sort of like this secret group who want to take out people. They're against people who are not white American. They're like sort of like a Hitler Nazi influenced KKK sort of group, and it's a secret like sort of group as well. And he wants to join this group throughout this story, and you see this story unravel with him. But then you've got the story of then Leonardo DiCaprio's story. He's this guy, he does drugs, he's alcoholic years later. But he's got a grown-up daughter then that he has to, they go on the run from the police, from the army, and it's then him wanting to basically try and rescue his daughter throughout this story. And I really thought it was a really good story, because there was a few different story threads and a few different characters that it followed. Again, Benicio del Toro's character, his story was like he wasn't linked so much. He was like the judo teacher or the karate teacher for Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter, but then he helps Leonardo DiCaprio's character. But then he also has his own little story of helping people, and it's a really interesting story. It's a long movie, but I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it last night when I watched it. This is by the guy, I forget which one it is. Is it Paul Thomas Anderson or Paul? One of the Andersons. There's too many Andersons. But this is the guy I was checking. He did Licorice Pizza, Boogie Nights. Licorice Pizza was a bit hit and miss, if I'm being honest, looking back at it. Boogie Nights, though, is a superb movie. That was his first movie he directed. Really good film if you've never seen Boogie Nights. But yeah, one battle after the other. Great film, great watch. I think Sean Penn's performance really stands out, and I think he did win an award at the Oscars recently for his supporting actor in this. So I can understand why, because his performance was really good. But really good story, and I really enjoyed the end of the movie. Goes into a bit of a car chase, which I thought it was really filmed really well and really interestingly. I really enjoyed that. So I really do. I thought it was a decent movie. This one, really enjoyable movie. Next, I'm going to get to Transformers 1. So this is the animated movie that came out a few years ago. And yeah, I'm not a big, huge Transformers fan in all in all. I thought the first live action movie was decent. I think I may have seen the original animated one years ago, but I wasn't really super into it. I just weren't never a Transformers guy. I've only watched a couple of the. I think I've seen the second one, the Bumblebee. I did like the most recent live action, The Rise of the Beast. I thought that was a decent film. But yeah, I've not watched that many of the live action movies. I probably need to put some more time into watching them all sometime. But this was a surprise hit for me. I really enjoyed this, and I liked it because so this is animated. It's like a new voice cast as well, but it shows the origins of all of these different Transformers characters. And don't ask me what the names are now because I've probably forgot. But you've got Megatron. Voltron. I know it's not Voltron. It's Ultron. No, it's not that. Megatron, the Decepticons, all this, the Autobots. But it shows the origins of that story. Now, I don't know whether it's a new origin story put together particularly for this movie, or it is taking bits from comics. I'm not too sure where the origin came from. But what I will say is I really enjoyed it, and it's a shame. I was looking online afterwards and to see whether they're going to do a sequel. It doesn't look like they're doing a sequel. Apparently, the director of this is due to be doing a live action movie, so that'll be cool. But I enjoyed this, but I think it just looked the animation was cool. I thought it was a bit of a slow start, but when it really kicked in, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun movie, and like I said, I liked the fact that I could kind of get my head around all these different terms for the different Transformer characters and where they kind of originated from the home planet. It's all based on the home planet as well, so. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really fun, entertaining watch. I like the voice cast. I just thought visually it was a really fun movie as well, entertaining film. So that's Transformers 1. March has been a good month. It has been a good month for new films I've watched in the movie room. Next up, Creature from the Black Lagoon. This is a first time watch, and I will say all these so far are first time watches. I think, these are all first time watches for me. Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954 movie, Universal Monsters movie of the Gill Man. Never seen it before, and wow, this was great. What prompted me to this was they had sales on Amazon recently, and they had the Universal Monsters Blu-ray set, and it was going for about 20 quid. And I thought, should I buy it? And I don't like doing blind buys. The only thing I've watched from Universal Monsters before is Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. So that's the only thing I've got a reference point with Universal Monsters. Obviously, I've seen, the more recent Mummy movies, Invisible Man, and I've seen Hammer horror films, but never seen anything from the Universal horror, the Universal Monsters section of movies. So I was thought, you know what, I don't want to just blind buy this, I want to watch some first. So I streamed it in the movie room, and I thought, let's go for this one. I thought there was a few different options. I'll go for this one, see what it's like. And this was one of the more recent ones, but from the Dracula, which was I think it was 1930s, to this one, a bit more of a newer one, 1954. But yeah, I thought this was a decent film. I thought two main points I can say. Well, one main point from this I can say is the influence this movie has on Jaws is unreal. If you've never watched this, if you're a fan of Jaws, go and watch The Creature from the Black Lagoon and tell me there's not an influence. And I'm sure this has been spoken about before. Even some of the bits of the score, the music sounds a bit Jaws-like, and just the way it's built up. This exploring crew, and they found this skeleton, this hand of one of the creatures, another gill person, and then they go to this place in the Amazon forest on this little boat, and they go to the Black Lagoon where the creature is, and it's basically Jaws, and they're sitting on this boat in this middle of this lagoon, they're trapped in there, and then the creature is just picking them off one by one. It's going through underwater. There's a lot of underwater scenes from 1954. The underwater scenes are spectacular. But yeah, it was a really It didn't look cheesy. It looked really well put together. Like I said, the underwater stuff for that time period, I thought was unreal. And it's black and white, so go into it. I didn't doesn't bother me. Black and white movies, it really doesn't bother me. But I was really watching it and thinking, blimey, this has just got Jaws written all over it, and I can see when they were making Jaws, they must have been using this for reference for a lot of the stuff, music, the tension, the way it's built up with Jaws hunting people. It felt very, very like for like, copy and paste, and it's I think kudos to this film. I think it's a really good film. So it intrigues me to watch more Universal monsters now because I really enjoyed this. So I'm definitely gonna. Don't know whether I'll pick up the box set straight away, but I do. It's making me more lean toward buying the box set so I can watch them all on Blu-ray. I know it's had a 4K release as well, but I think I'd be more than happy with picking up a Blu-ray of that. Well, yeah, great watch, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Next up, a really great British film, and it is I Swear. I've watched a few good British films recently, if I'm being completely honest. I've watched. I will get to I Swear in a minute, but Wallace Island, another great one. Peaky Blinders, I enjoyed that the other day. I watched that. But I Swear is a British movie. I think it came out last year, and it is basically, it tells us a true story of this gentleman who in Scotland, young lad at the time in the 80s, who had who has still has Tourette's, and Tourette's syndrome. If no one knows about Tourette's, I'll be honest, I was not. I knew of it, and I've seen people with it before on TV. I've never met anyone with Tourette's, and I weren't really that educated on everything that people with Tourette's have in regards to what sort of conditions it brings on. With the tics, the way they can just say random words, the bodies, they can't control the body, they can spit out food. Obviously, there's loads of different symptoms, and different people have different things as well. But it was a really interesting watch, and the guy who, I don't know the actor's name, but I think he was in that new Lord of the Rings TV show as well, and he played the young Ned Stark in the last season or the second to last season of Game of Thrones in some flashback scenes. The guy who played him was unreal. The mannerisms, the way he was performing, the Tourette, it was unreal the way he did it. And I imagine it was quite hard then to go into different roles when you've done that role and working on your body mannerisms, all these of someone who has Tourette's. But true story, and it's shown at the end of the movie, it's shown the actual real people, the real person it's based on. It was based on this documentary of this guy in Scotland. It reminded me a bit of like a Billy Elliot, where it was, it had drama, but it also had comedy moments to it as well, which was nice to see. So it had a lot of that in there, and I really did enjoy that. And really a great watch, a great British movie, and I think it has won awards, this movie, and I don't know what it's won, but it really deserves it. It's a really heartwarming movie, heartwarming story, and a good British story as well. And I think it's one of them as well, where I think it's a really inspiring story, because you see this guy who suffers from Tourette's, and then throughout the story he shows him over a 20-30 year period, and then he gets an actual I think he gets like a knighthood or a CBE, an OBE from the Queen. But you see what he does to change things and to make more people aware of Tourette's. And this film does that as well. But it showed, this guy was trying to help other people with Tourette's, even though he had Tourette's, and to share his story to help people who are younger than him to process it. And I thought it was really good. It shed a lot of light. It was an inspiring story, and I think it was a really educating story as well. So really enjoyed that. And I think that's one I'm definitely going to pick up. I saw it didn't see it on Amazon, and that's why I'm thinking, and I feel like this is a movie I'm going to pick up, because I feel like this is one where it's going to be out of print at some point. I saw it in HMV the other day. I think this is one I'm probably going to pick up, get it on Blu-ray, because it's a really good film, this one. Next up, we have got Unhinged. Come out a couple of years, I think it's about 10 years or so ago now. Russell Crowe starring movie. Now, this was just a fantastic watch. A lot of the movies set in cars, and it's basically this story builds up. It's this young woman with her son, and she's waiting in a queue in a car, and then this car doesn't move in front of her, and she starts beeping her horn. And then it turns out it is Russell Crowe's character in his car, and we see a bit of a build up beforehand. He basically commits some crimes, some pretty nasty crimes, and then you see it's a revenge story of him because this woman, wouldn't apologise to him. She beat the horn at him, and he kind of like wanted to amicably resolve it, but she didn't accept that, and then he goes on a mission to destroy her day, and he goes on this revenge mission, killing people, hurting the people she loves, who are close to her, and I will say Russell Crowe in this film is one of the best villains I have seen in a long time. I put some of my favourite villains, I like the Joker. I think Heath Ledger's Joker is phenomenal. This is really up there. His villain in this is just it. Literally, I mean, pardon the pun, but he is unhinged. His villain's just so psychotic and just adamant on causing chaos, causing carnage, doesn't care about anyone's feelings, doesn't care about the ramifications of what he does. And that's what makes him so great in this movie, because he's just like, no holds barred, I am going to do what I want, I'm going to go into somewhere and just murder someone. And it is such a great movie, and it really puts me off beeping a horn or something. Because, look, I'll be honest with you, I've done it before. I've done it where I come out, I'll drive out, and I'll pull out, and someone just is going over the speed limit and does that, and I'll give them the finger, or I'll beat my horn, or I'll say something I shouldn't say. And I think we can all relate, and I try not to do that. I don't think it's a good behaviour to do. I'm not condoning that behaviour, but I've done it before in the past. When you get idiots on the road, I don't condone that behaviour, but we all do it, or we've all done it at some point. But I watched this movie and now, and like the next day, I had a scenario where I was like at a light and the car didn't move, and it was very similar to this movie. And I thought I was about to beat my horn, and I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna give it a minute, and I let them move. And I thought it's just not worth it. And that movie put me off there. It really, if you suffer from road rage, go and watch this film, and I bet you it will cure your road rage forever. I'm sure. But yeah, really solid film, this one. Cracking, just a really good thriller film. Yeah, really solid one, this one. I really enjoyed it. Finally, let's get to the final movie of the show. Finally! 28 years later, The Bone Temple. The fourth movie now, the fourth movie in the 28 Days Later franchise, the second one in this new sort of like after 28 years later, following that story, that young lad Spike again, and then with the Jimmy clan, and then you've got obviously Ralph Fiennes' character in there, Jack O'Connell's Jimmy, Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, by the way, that's his name in this movie, the villain. Follows on from the other story, and he's now a part of this cult, and he doesn't really want to be, and because there's psychos that go around, they're killing people, and it's then he wants to break free, and then you see just this really good story unfold. Now, I will say I enjoyed the first one, 28 Years Later. I thought that was a really good film, and this one is completely different, but just as good, if not a bit better. The performance in it are great. They're different again, similar to what I was saying first with the one battle after another. There was a lot of different story threads where you got Ralph Fiennes' character, the Doctor, with the Samson character that he's trying to cure, the Alpha, and he's building up that friendship with this Alpha character, and he's trying to cure him. And then you got Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal's character then meeting Ralph Fiennes' character, thinking he's initially his father, like reincarnated. And then you've also got the character of this young Spike who's in this cult who are going around killing people, and he doesn't want to be there and he wants to escape. And it is a really, I won't spoil the movie, but it is a phenomenal movie. And I will say the standout scenes are near the end of the movie with Ralph Fiennes, and he's he's just going crazy, putting on Iron Maiden songs, pretending he is the devil reincarnated, and it is bizarre. It's a bizarre movie, and it's one you wouldn't expect if you watch the first 28 Days Later movie. For this to be part of that franchise, but I think for me it really worked. I put posts online about this on like TikTok and stuff, and a lot of people do like it, and I know some people don't. And I think it's a very much a Marmite movie. I've really enjoyed these last two movies better than the first two. I thought the first two were decent for the time, but looking back, these are just miles ahead for me. I think for me, what stands out with the last two, and more specifically this one, is the character work. The character work is phenomenal. The villain of Jimmy, this cult leader, going round, and he's just got this really, he's got a view of the world that is just because of the way he was brought up. He was brought up basically very young, and all the zombies, the undead, whatever you want to call them, the infected, were when he grew up and killed his family, and then he had to grow up in that world, and it is just really skewered his view of life and what is real in life, and you see the output of that in this movie. And then you've got Ralph Fiennes' character, who's a very grounded character, but then he mixes with Jimmy, and he has to try and kind of like protect his own life from the Jimmy clan, and he kind of works with them in a way. But yeah, it's a really terrific movie, this one, and I really enjoyed it. Again, this will be definitely one. I give this like 3 stars out of 3 for me. It was one of my favourite movies this year so far. Cracking movie, but yeah, one I will be definitely picking up on physical for sure down the line, guys. So that's it for my movies for March 2026. Let me know what of these movies you've seen. Are you a fan of any of these movies? Let me know your thoughts, if you've been the good, the bad. Let me know what movies have you been watching over March as well, guys. Any new films or maybe some movie rewatches for yourself. Let me know what's been going on in your movie room. Yeah, it's been a fun episode as always. I really enjoyed just going over movies I've watched and just deep diving into them. Is always fun. But let me know your thoughts on this episode and all the movies. Thank you for joining me for this episode, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.